We're back on. All the defendants present, represented by counsel. Yeah, took a quick look at it. As much, I think, as judges would like to believe that we're an encyclopedia of knowledge just sitting here, sometimes we're not. So you will discover during the course of this trial, if an issue comes up and I don't have the answer right off the top of my head, we'll take a moment, we'll figure it out. We'll get as good an answer as we can onto the record at the time. So, yeah, 10.2, the defense can do that. I've looked at the case that 10.2 looks like it was created under, and it talked about it not being reversible error to permit it. Apparently, the court rules do contemplate an opening statement at the close of the state's case in chief. I am going to ensure, though, because I do think the standard that Mr. Goff cited is a standard that's appropriate here. I think the standard itself doesn't add anything more to the rule. It just governs lawyers' professional responsibility with regard to the rule. And I'm talking about standard 4-7.5 under the ABA standards. So to ensure that we're doing this appropriately, Mr. Goff, I assume that you have discussed in full with your client the exercise of that right to present a opening statement at the close of the state's evidence.
I have, Your Honor.
And also that the standard itself advises that defense counsel should be aware of the importance of an opening statement and except in unusual circumstances, give an opening statement immediately after the prosecutions before the presentation of evidence. And you have discussed with your client that specific portion of the standard?
We have discussed the pros and cons of that decision.
Client is sitting right here. I don't want to get into what any of that topic of conversation is. I do want to just confirm, Mr. Bryan, that we've had the discussion with your counsel on this issue.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
And do you need any additional time to speak with your lawyer about deferring opening statements until the end of the state's case in chief?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I inquire? In my previous experience, it has been the state rests, directed verdict motion, defendant's opening, and then the defense presentation of the case. But the phrasing here was a little odd, meaning the state rests and then he does his opening statement and then we do the directed verdict and then he's going to do his presentation of evidence. I'm just a little concerned on the order that we're doing this in.
Well, Your Honor, Uniform Superior Court Rule 10.2 is somewhat vague on the subject. My assumption would be that the state would close its evidence, that motions for directed verdict, if any, would be heard by the court at that time. And in the unlikely event that my motion for directed verdict as to all counts is denied, then at that time, I would make my opening statement.
Sounds like everybody's on the same page.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Well, then, before I bring the panel back, is the state's first witness available?
Yes, the state's first witness is available.
So what we'll do is let's get the formalities of this on the record, then I'll bring the panel back in. Mr. Goff, if you would go ahead and indicate on the record your deferral, and we'll get right into the evidence. All right. All right. State ready to proceed?
Yes, the state's ready.
Travis McMichael ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Gregory McMichael.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let's go get the panel.
Please be seated.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to proceed with the case. Thank you for your patience. It is appreciated. Mr. Goff.
Your Honor, at this time, on behalf of defendant William Bryan, we reserve, that is, defer our opening statement in this matter.
All right. With Mr. Bryan reserving opening statement, is the state ready to proceed with evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
From the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the state will call William Duggan.
I see counsel briefly. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we go in kind of fits and starts sometimes. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and take a step outside the courtroom. You're going to be coming back in just a moment. Thank you.
So rise for jury, please. So rise, please. Please be seated.
All right, Officer Duggan, if I could please just have you exit the courtroom. You're going to be coming right back in. I just need to address the matter with counsel.
Yes, sir.
All right. The reason that I am pausing before this witness, there was yesterday a discussion about some evidence that would be coming in, specifically Officer Duggan's body cam. The footage in the body cam for anyone, and particularly those probably that are not as accustomed to seeing those types of images, could in some way be surprising or may elicit some reaction. I noted during opening statements that there was a reaction to the video that has already, I'll just refer to it as the video, and didn't say anything at that point, but I had mentioned to counsel yesterday that I generally try to prepare a gallery if something's coming that may result in a response from members of the gallery. The Duggan video, to some, if you haven't seen it, may in fact do that. What I am asking is that if anybody here believes that they would have some type of emotional response to any of the videos that may be shown in this case, that they go ahead and take this moment to step out of the courtroom. The court does not want the gallery to become a distraction when it comes to the evidence as it is being presented. So if we could please do that, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with the evidence. I'll take a moment or two. And as we're doing this, I've done this in other as I indicated to counsel yesterday, I've done this in other emotionally charged cases. And I think it's just appropriate sometimes to make sure that we do not have distractions as we move through the presentation of evidence.
We're ready to go forward.
All right. Let's go get the panel. Okay.
Please be seated.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, have a seat. Your witness.
Thank you, Judge. All right, please state your name for the record and spell it for our court reporter.
William Duggan, William Duggan.
And it's Officer Duggan, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there a special designation that I'm missing, like sergeant or lieutenant or something like that?
No, ma'am.
All right. And how are you currently employed?
With the Glenn County Police Department,
How long have you been with the Glenn County Police Department?
just over 12 years.
All right. And have you been in law enforcement all those 12 years, or is there some law enforcement before joining Glenn County?
Before that,
All right. So how many years in total have you been with law enforcement?
14 years.
All right. So let's talk about what your current job duties and responsibilities are with the Glenn County Police Department.
Yes, ma'am. I'm assigned to the patrol division. I've been there for my 12 years with the department. It involves regular routine calls, day-to-day calls, thefts, violent felonies, misdemeanors, traffic accidents, etc. Anything that comes our way.
So does the patrol division, is that the division that usually responds to like 911 calls?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any kind of 911 call?
That is correct, from 911 hang-ups to anything else that's going on.
All right. Now, within the Glenn County system, when you respond to a 911 call, is a report generated based on the 911 call?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what happens if the 911 call is kind of maybe unfounded, or like, for instance, you get a call for a burglary, but you get there and it turns out it's nothing. There's an alarm going off.
We would change the title of it with our CAD system, which is the computer-aided dispatch, through our dispatcher, and we would close it out unfounded or something else if it was something not a burglar.
Okay. So you get a response for one type of call, and it turns out it's a different kind of call.
Yes.
All right. Now, have you attended classes or trainings with the Georgia Peace Officer Standards Training Council?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
All right. And we commonly call that POST?
That is correct.
All right. So are you, in fact, a post-certified law enforcement officer?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right. So as a post-certified law enforcement officer, what do you have to do to maintain your post-certification?
Standard right now per year is a minimum mandatory 20 hours of in-service training. In-service training is sometimes required courses, which is mandated by post each year, such as de-escalation, use of force, firearms training, and most officers will get more than the 20 hours per year.
Okay. And you maintain your training?
Yes.
All right. Now, have you had any training in the medical field?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
All right. Tell the jury about your training within the medical field.
Since I've been employed or through post-training and other training, I've had at least a minimum of 184 hours of medical training. That ranges from basic first aid, CPR, first responder training, which would be the next level up for more serious injuries that a first responder as a police officer would handle, getting to a scene of an accident or a stabbing or just somebody falling off of a ladder. Also done officer survival, which has a basis in that course of taking care of serious injuries. Active shooter response, which also involves dealing with traumatic injuries. And tactical first aid, which would be dealing with serious injuries, gunshots, whatnot, in an active shooter situation where you have to move and try and assist the survival of somebody during a shooting.
Okay. So when you get called to a scene of, say, a shooting, what's the priority at the scene?
Upon first arriving on a scene of a shooting, you want to make sure it's safe for the officer and for the citizens around you. Once it's determined to be safe by yourself or other officers, then you would secure the crime scene. That could be putting up tape and whatnot and preserving the evidence that is at the scene so it can be processed, analyzed, investigated by follow-up officers and investigators.
Okay. So officer safety is first priority.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So even if someone's injured but it's still a dangerous scene, what happens?
You can't help them if something happens to you, so you got to make sure you're safe first.
Got it. Now, in the patrol division, is the patrol division divided up in the Glenn County Police Department by like areas or zones?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are some of those areas and zones?
They go There's no Zone 3, but we have 1 through 11, and they're in various parts of the county. The southern part of the county is what we call as a Baker 9, around the exit 29 area of 95. The northern part would be exit 36. That encompasses Baker 6, Baker 11. To the western part of the county is Baker 8. The southern part, or the southern part from the interchange, exit 36 would be at Baker 6. And then the eastern side would be Baker 5 and 10. And then the island, St. Simon's Island, Sea Island, comprises Baker 1, 2, and 4.
All right, so the Satilla Shores neighborhood, is that Baker 9?
Yes, ma'am, that is Baker 9.
All right. And in your experience, 12 years on patrol, how bad is Baker 9 as far as crime in general?
It has its fair share of calls. It's one of our biggest territories for the Baker, which would have one officer assigned to it. It's a large territory, which is usually handled by that one officer due to the lack of call volume that is down there.
Okay. So let me try to get this right. Baker 9, which covers the southern part, including Satilla Shores,
Yes.
on any 8-hour shift, has how many officers assigned in a patrol car?
Usually one, unless there's an overlapping shift.
Okay. Low call volume.
Pretty much, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So now, as a post-certified law enforcement officer, what do you normally drive?
Usually a marked patrol car, has Glenn County on the side, says police with the emblems, lights on top, visible, not hidden lights. Currently, I'm driving a 2015 Dodge Charger.
All right. And what do you generally wear as a post-certified law enforcement officer?
On patrol, it's full uniform with shoulder patches, a badge present, gun belt. Pretty much it.
Do you also wear body cam?
I do. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Satilla Shores neighborhood. What county does Satilla Shores fall into?
That is Glenn County, Georgia.
All right, Glenn County. And back in 2019 or 2020, were you patrolling Baker 9?
No, I was not.
All right. Prior to February of 2020, did you know defendant William R. Bryan, seated over there?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so you didn't know him prior to that?
No.
All right. Did you know Travis McMichael?
No, ma'am.
All right. Did you know Gregory McMichael?
Where's he at?
If you could stand up, I know it's an airport reporter there, you got the whole thing.
Yes, ma'am. I've had an occasion to meet him.
All right. And when you say occasions to meet him, was that in your capacity as a law enforcement officer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And on the realm of scales of relationships, from really, really close best friend over to someone I maybe knew their first name to wave at, where did he fall?
Knew his first name.
All right, I'm going to direct your attention specifically right now to Sunday, February 23rd, 2020, at approximately 1 to 1:15 p.m. in the afternoon that day. Were you actually working that day as a Glenn County police officer or in some other capacity?
Another capacity.
And tell the jury what that capacity was.
We have our primary functions as police officers, and the community, businesses, organizations will hire us in an off-duty capacity, but with the presence of a full uniform and a marked patrol car for traffic duties, security duties, banks, churches, etc., like that. On that day, I was working, or I had completed a shift working for a local church.
So sort of an approved second job as service to the community, like at the church.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
All right. So how were you dressed that day?
Full uniform as previously described.
All right. And what vehicle were you in?
I was in a 2015 fully marked Dodge Charger.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this. Did you respond to the homicide scene at the corner of Holmes and Satilla Drive in the Satilla Shores neighborhood on February 23rd, 2020?
I did, yes.
All right, so where were you at and why did you go to that location?
On the way home from the off-duty job that I was working, I had stopped at a local business to pick up some lunch, and had gone across the street to pick up some drinks. And while I was obtaining my stuff in the drive-thru, the radio was on as required, and I heard Officer Minshew come across the radio advising of shots fired, and a person was down on the ground in the street. I knew where he was located at, which was approximately maybe 2 miles away. The jurisdiction, the location of his beat, Baker 9, I knew the closest backup unit to him was probably 9 to 10 miles away at the closest. And they would have to come from exit 36 area. So I immediately responded to assist him.
All right. What did you find when you arrived at the corner of Holmes and Satilla Drive on February 23rd, 2020? Just describe it for the jury.
When I arrived, there was Officer Minshew's patrol car was parked at the intersection. I parked a little bit to the right back of him. I saw him out walking around. I believe he was beginning to take some pictures of the scene. I did see a black male laying on the ground in the middle of the roadway on the pavement. There were a couple of other people walking around, milling around. There was a vehicle in the road further back past the person that was down on the ground.
Did you see any firearms or weapons?
Immediately upon arriving, I did not notice anything at the initial on-scene response.
Okay. And the only officer there when you arrived was who?
Officer Minshew.
All right. Prior to coming in today, you and I have spoken, obviously.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And did you get the opportunity to review your body cam video from that day?
Yes, I did.
All right. When I showed it to you, was it a fair and accurate depiction of the body cam video of your actions on the afternoon of Sunday, February 23rd, 2020?
Yes.
Now, with body cam, when you hit the button and it started, what kind of technical issue with your body cam happens?
When they're in the on position, to activate them manually, you'll double press, double tap the center of the camera, which will activate it. You'll hear a beep, and then it'll start recording audio and video. Prior to that, in standby mode, when it's on a continuous loop, which means it's always recording, but with no audio. Upon activating it, either by lights or some other technology that'll activate it simultaneously, it'll record 30 seconds prior to with no audio upon activation. So the last 30 seconds I was just talking to you. If I had my body camera in standby mode, you would see my hands moving, people blinking and whatnot, but no audio. And upon activating it, the audio would start from there with 30 seconds prior of no audio.
Is that what happened with your body cam video?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, at this time the state would tender into evidence State's Exhibit 219, Officer Duggan's body cam video.
Subject to the court's prior rulings. And may I say, could we get the mic a little closer? It's very difficult to hear this far away.
Okay, for the corner, and I've checked with the deputies a couple times. I know that we're not having, I understand everybody can hear on the jury panel, so we're good there. It must be that corner.
I think it's this corner, maybe the acoustics. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, if we could, or if there's any way to turn that mic up, we'll try to do that. If I could just get you to speak right into that mic so we can get you.
Yes, sir.
No objection, subject to the previous ruling.
Thank you. All right, it's admitted. What's that number again?
This is State's 219.
Thank you.
I think you'll be able to see it right there on your monitor.
Okay.
Stop it right here. At this point, when you were moving your hand and pointing at,
Hold on a second.
Let's see if that catches up. That's off, that's something that's already been loaded onto the board, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was kind of, Your Honor, it was
Is yours-
also
yeah,
jumping.
yours is jumping?
It was jumping around a lot.
That one's jumping and mine's jumping.
oh, there's a little lag on that television? All right, cool. Hopefully it'll load up while I'm asking the question.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Okay. So, Officer Duggan, at this point in time, you see the man here. And
Yes.
is there another person seated over here?
I believe so, yes, there was. I see the one in front of me with the jeans and the light colored shirt. And I believe there was a second person over in the shadows. Yeah.
What did you say to the second person over in the shadows, if anything?
I know I made a motion to the gentleman walking towards me to just hang back. And I'm pretty sure at the time when I saw Mr. Junior on the side, didn't know who he was at the time, but I could see he was covered in blood. There was blood all over. And I remember at some point asking if he was okay.
And what did that man covered in blood, seated over there, say to you when you asked him, "Are you okay?"
It was a quick reply of basically, no, I'm not okay. I just effing killed somebody.
And do you use that profanity with the F word?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I know. I did probably do something for him.
Let's
So
shut
shut
it down for a second. Let's keep, I want to move, just either, we need to figure out, there's a delay there, there's a delay there. Are you still seeing a delay?
Yeah, still seeing a delay, and the audio was skipping.
It's skipping.
We need technical support since I did load it onto the monitor.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and take a step into the jury room for just a moment, please.
All rise for jury.
Okay. If y'all just have a seat. See if we can get somebody from IT to take a look at this.
He's on the way, Judge.
Okay.
Your Honor, when you have a minute, I have one other matter to bring up about the courtroom setup.
That's fine.
I'd like a bathroom break if I have the time.
Okay, let's hear from Mr. Hogue first. And then we'll break.
I didn't realize till we got started that you actually cannot see the witness from this row of chairs. My client can't see him at all. I can see the top of his head as I'm sitting here. And I know it's set up so if you are here maybe with a single defendant you can see. But now that we've got 3 defendants, 2 of them can't see. And I've been in 2 other courtrooms where this has been a problem, Jones County and Putnam County most recently. And the sheriff built a riser to comply with the 6th Amendment so we can see and confront the witnesses against us. So I don't know what to do now, and we're good with this today, but I would like to move the court for a fix to get the witness up higher.
So I understand what we're saying is that for today,
They were okay.
Okay. And you're raising a confrontation clause issue.
Yes.
Okay.
We are also fine for today, and we like our arrangement here very much. But I guess out of abundance of caution, we'll join the Sixth Amendment concern. We can ponder that over the weekend. Maybe we would waive it for the rest of the trial. But for today,
this point has been raised by a party, so
we're good for today. Well, Your Honor, you will recall, I think I mentioned the witness box issue.
I understand.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take 10 minutes, and hopefully by that time we'll get IT in here and figure out what's going on. Officer Duggan, I'm going to let you step down. If you could please remain available, and I remind you that you're under oath. Do not discuss your testimony with anybody. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, 10 minutes. Thank you. Oh, we're not in recess then. I heard a judge.
I said, thank you, Judge.
Oh, I just heard the judge part. All right, 10 minutes.
Your Honor, we'd like to say.